agreeing to come and chat with me.
Of course.
Yeah, maybe again, just to give everyone a bit of context, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, but before we do that, I would like to talk about our relationship. And I
Okay.
think I
Okay,
think
awesome.
I
Cool.
met you through the HoaQ community
Mm-hmm.
when you were CTO at 54 Gene.
Mm-hmm.
And then like we've met in person a couple of times. Our meeting that I remember vividly was, I think it's London Tech Week, where we there was like a Nigerian delegation, and then you started to build your own company, which you allowed us to invest. So like, yeah, you as an investor, also us having the ability to invest in your startup.
Yeah.
So we've like, and since then I also became a founder, right?
Yes. Full cycle.
So full cycle. And like I want to open this conversation to note that in the global world, like investor founder, they have their own silos.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in the African ecosystem, we're too small for silos, and you'll see people wearing multiple hats.
Agree.
I would love to be a full-time investor, but as you and I know, we need more builders now.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that we still cannot invest.
Hmm.
So, like, I'm sure if capital allows, you'll see write a check here and there. I haven't made any investment this year, but I think I did like one or two last year while I
Mm.
was still building. And like I would invest in things that I really, really, really care about.
Yeah.
And sometimes you go into the details by just writing a small check, learning from the founder, reading investor updates, knowing how you can support in a tiny, small way.
Mm-hmm.
That aside, quick background intro. My name is Joe Kinvi. I am a founder, have invested before, operator. I'm from Togo, based in London. I grew up in Ireland. I spent 18 years of my life in Ireland. And now I am cutting my teeth as a founder based in London here. I'm building a company called Borderless. We provide digital infrastructure for investment collectives.
Mm-hmm.
We target the African diaspora. And when you look at the diaspora, it's the richest, wealthiest. They already send 100 billion to Africa every year. So can we now encourage them or help them with the right tools to invest across startups, real estate, debt, asset financing, because Francis, you're in the asset space.
Yes.
And yeah, we just want to be able to build that connector for the diaspora and various assets. We think there's a big market for it, but things that haven't been done before often seem impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't just wake up wanted to build Borderless. This journey started 5 years ago. So let me just pause there in terms of my background.
But again, I think you're already doing like a nice segue into my next question, which is again to your point, having known you for a bit now, seeing all of that entire journey, again, just kind of talking through that journey, right? From working and being an investor to being a founder. Talk me a little bit about that transition and that entire journey. How did each of that phase and what was like, this is the time to actually now start exploring this other side of me or this other phase to see what that looks like.
When you go as far as 2011, when I was graduating from university, me and my friend, a friend called Michael, we entered this competition, a startup competition, while I was doing my final exams, and we came second.
Oh, wow.
And this was donkey years ago, 2011. Except when we were entering this competition, for me, it was just like I was having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was in my final year, I already had a job secured at EY. So whatever happens, I couldn't care. Like all I had to do was just to get a 2-1. I already had a job secured. And that's how beautiful a place like Ireland is for people like me who are just hungry and the opportunities are there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a job before going I had a job before finishing university. So when we did this competition, we got the money, we got 2,500 euro. Bro, we chopped the money. Nothing else happened after. It was fun. So like I went into consultancy, did a consultancy. I was just like, this is no, like I don't enjoy this.
Hmm.
Um, but when you go into these worlds, and I'll touch on consultancy for a bit, they make you feel like there's nothing else out there for you,
Out there, yeah.
which it kind of sucked. Like when I look back, I'm like, I wish I left in year one, but I didn't. I was there for 3 years. Then I went into banking, just tossing around trying to figure out what I really liked. And I got to a stage where I was just tired of complaining.
Hmm.
So in April 2016, I quit my job. Like I quit. I just went to my boss. I'm like, I'm quit. He's like, why are you quitting? Do you have another job? What can we do? One of the reasons why I quit was because I didn't feel like I was in charge of like my financial rewards or outputs, right? I
Hmm.
was an auditor and you just have to do a good job. And like, I remember the company did something with the bonus and my bonus was cut. And then they said, oh, next year we'll give you a better bonus. I'm like, no, no. Uh-uh. And really deeply, I really wanted to be in charge of, like, when I look forward, it's what you call agency. Like, I wanted to be in
Hmm.
charge of my destiny. And
Yeah.
working in banking, working consultancy didn't give me that. So I went into tech, played around for a bit, like, tried to build my own startup, which was obviously a failure. Then I joined this startup this fintech, they raised a bit of money. They were figuring things out. Very, very smart guys. And that was where like my being like in control like came. I was a very good accountant.
Hmm.
I was qualified. I understood things. And they just say, hey, you own this finance function. It
Get it
was the
out.
best. It was the best thing they could have done for me. So like that was when I really became an operator, running the whole thing, all the way to acquisition when we sold to Stripe in 2019. And like my other skills came in, but like I always say this that I did one of my best career work at Touch Tech, which was the company. Then went over to Stripe and just being an operator. Like just they tell you, hey, this is what we want to get to. You just take it and run with it.
Hmm.
I think that's the best thing you can do for any good employee who really cares about doing good work,
Hmm.
and like just enable them to answer question, like ask questions and give them good answer. I think when I joined Touch Tech, I felt like I was finally in control of my career. Finally, like it was really, really important for me. Then at Stripe, we started HoaQ. HoaQ, yeah, many people see me online. They know me as the HoaQ guy, right? And I've always been the type of person that wants to solve problems. And when we started this journey of investing in early stage startups through collective capital pooling,
Hmm.
there was nothing online. Like there was nothing. There was no information. Like you'll find stuff, but it's usually very focused on the US.
Yeah.
And then, but I remember I was in Ireland and a group of us were investing in Ireland with some people in the US, some people in the UK. And like, I'm like, why isn't there a process to make this thing work very easily? Quickly realized that there is actually an infrastructure problem when it comes to co-investments. And then it was the same time that Vauban was coming up. Angelis was kind of like picking up his strides. Odin actually didn't come to life till like 2021, and
Hmm.
I met Paddy like maybe that year or the year after. So there's a lot of things that just didn't exist, and I really care about like building very tight processes. Context: when I worked in internal audit, I was actually writing and designing processes.
Hmm.
So like I had that experience of like doing things, and there's an article that came out maybe like 30 minutes ago, and when you read the article, I mentioned it to Tech About. I mentioned that we run HoaQ as a startup.
Hmm.
Like the last paragraph, we run this thing as a startup where we have customers and we have supply. The founders are the supply and the
Yeah.
investors are the customers, right? And we do things that work for our investors. So like HoaQ came about, then I was at Stripe for 3 years, went to Paystack for a year because again, what we did at HoaQ requires money movement, sending money to Africa, have money back
Hmm.
and front. And I was obsessed with African fintech because it's very new. You have like, like context, Africa has 33 currencies, whether like the CFR kind of covers 14 countries. Then
Mm-hmm.
you have like 54 different regulators,
To deal with.
different different languages, different cultures. So I was just super excited about working in Africa and fintech because money, like cash rules is everything around me. Like
Yes.
really, like money. When you can understand how money runs, you can get a lot done. And I think so I was just very curious about like doing work, and I got very lucky when I went to Paystack. I was doing financial partnerships. So when you go to the Paystack website, you will not see anything about financial partnerships, because financial partnerships is actually everything that happens at the
Yep. Back office.
back office of payment. And that's where the interesting thing. And if anybody wants to like learn more about fintech in Africa or anywhere, financial partnerships is really where you kind of like get to see everything as a whole. But by the time you get there, you need to have a lot of experiences. So like you need to know how to talk to partners, you need to understand how to do sales, you need to know how to do
Mm-hmm.
contracts. There's so many things that happen in this world. But that was one of the best things that's happened to me. And when I was leaving Paystack, I realized that the digital infrastructure for collective investment doesn't even exist, especially for the diaspora. And that's how we want to build V1 of borderless, which is platform. Now we're deprecating that, moving to borderless. Hopefully, I don't know when you plan to release this, but hopefully in April 2025.
Awesome.
So like that's the journey. But really and truly, I'm a builder. Like I want to be a problem solver, and I find really really important problems and go and tackle it. I think that's like the African problem. We have a problem. We have a
It's
problem.
just the fact agreeing that you won't have a problem. That's it.
We have a problem. So I was at a round table last week or the week before. It was talking about UK Africa partnership, blah blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah. I went onto my iPad, I went into Claude, and I want to see the GDP growth of China, the US, Africa, and the UK. China, 27 billion, US 27 trillion. I think China is like 17 or 18. UK is 3, Africa is 3. These two combined is lower than the GDP of China. They're literally like, when you look at the chart, it's like when you all go for a school trip and you leave 2 students behind, and those 2 are still just playing as if nothing has happened.
It's complete child's play.
It's like child's play. And I showed this chart to everybody at that table. I think there was about 30 people in the room. I'm like, this UK Africa collaboration is a matter of emergency. You 2 are playing at the bottom of the pile. You need to get we need to get our shit together. Like seriously. When you look at Africa, they talk about our resources, we talk about all these things that we have. This continent has not prospered. That's why people like you, people like me are not living there. I wish I was living in Africa. I was living anywhere. Like it's while I'm Togolese, we're very well qualified. We have resources to pack our stuff and go.
Yeah.
If Africa was working, you and I would be having this podcast maybe in a very lovely office in Lagos.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. Something is broken. The easier thing to do, and goes to me, goes to you. Like my parents brought me to Ireland, right? And they left because things were not working. Like if we want to build a better life for our kids, no, actually, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. Feel free to chop this thing out. Like the easier path for all of us, especially the educated one, is to just pack our stuff and go. That's not the solution. It's not even a patch, right? But we, like as humans, we put ourselves first. We want a better life, and if there's a better life somewhere else, we'll pack our stuff and we'll go there. That's not the
I think
answer.
again to your point, it's also because people that have tried also solving in those markets have seen that again, there's so much you have control over, and contextually sometimes it's really, really hard. That sometimes it's
Yes.
like, okay, maybe I just want to actually have a bit of sanity and then figure
Yeah.
out how to then evolve from there. And I get it because it's not easy. So I respect it because even for me, I think for the longest time I never really envisioned living outside of Nigeria. I grew up in
Mhm.
Nigeria all my life, right? But again, you will be faced with certain situations and challenges. You just realize, oh, okay, maybe operating from a different space or in a different context gives you a bit more broader opportunity to then be again, maybe like even like how the Bible says it about like removing a speck in your eye. Because again,
Mhm. Mhm.
if you're not even okay, first of all, how can you even help solve that problem for someone else? And I think
Yeah.
that's where, for me, again, like even to like what HoaQ represents, I think is also usually very powerful because to your point, we also understand the context of the problem of what it
Yes.
feels like back home. And
Mhm.
it's also the reason why I also believe that founders also usually make the best investors because they know what it truly means and feels to be like to build a
Mhm.
business. And
Yeah.
so if you then have the opportunity and the resource that you can then say, oh, I need to intentionally invest to see how can you improve the situation and the circumstance of what that looks like. But
Mhm.
yeah,
It's
it
not.
is
Yeah.
tough.
It is tough, and like I would never blame anybody for looking for a better life for themselves or their family.
Hmm.
We're humans. That's what we can't do. While this sounds like it's not a good thing, now finally, me, you are now earning more than we probably would have. I know you're a CTO, so I don't know, like yeah. But like it presents an opportunity because we
Hmm.
can now make more money than ever.
Hmm.
How do we utilize that capital for good, productive good, not just
Yeah.
any good, like productive good? And like, how can we? The world is now more connected than ever. Like, we have the internet. Like, you're in Birmingham, I'm in London. We're having this thing, and the world is more connected than ever. Yes, we want a bit of sanity. We want to live outside of Africa, but that doesn't mean that we just have to drop everything and just become Europeans. I know you don't want to become European. Let's be honest.
Okay.
Even people who want to go to America with their American
Hmm.
accent, they
Hmm.
don't want to become American. 90% of the Africans I meet want to go back.
Hmm.
Francis, I'm not lying to you. The right opportunity with the right circumstances, I'm gone. But I'm speaking from a place of privilege. And
True.
let's like we're all out seeking free privileges. Like my first language is French. I now speak fluent English. I have an Irish passport combined with a Togolese passport. I actually have the best combo in the world.
You could go anywhere like
Like actually, like combined, I have like I am so privileged. And shout out to my mom. But like I would hate to waste my privilege.
hmm.
And that's why I do what I do.
Mm.
Like my CV is, if I can say so myself,
Chef
I get
kiss.
chef kiss. But like Africa deserves a chance. Like, and
Mm.
we can do this work to make our continent better, our continent livable. If it's not for us, it can be for our kids, it can be for our grandkids. Our population is growing faster than ever.
Hmm.
Land is a finite thing. When I go to places like South Africa, Kenya, non Africans are buying up these places.
Mm.
They're not going to tell you this in the news. What they're going to tell you in the news is South Africa is one of the most dangerous places in the world. Yes, there's crime in South Africa. It's not as bad as it seems.
Yeah. True.
But again, I don't want to like discount anybody's personal experiences. Crime happens. But really and truly, that country is one of the most beautiful countries I've been to. Period. Whenever I go to Kenya, I don't want to leave. You and I have been to ATS. You and I have been to ATS. We've gone
Yeah.
to Diani. Like we've gone to Tanzania, Zanzibar. Like Africa deserves a chance
Mm.
in our lifetime. And for meaningful change to happen, it takes at least 25 years. It takes like a generation.
True.
Like you and I are like in our 30s. Like by the time like 55 it's I've met 55-year-olds that look good.
Yeah.
They have another 25 year. Like I my goal is to mobilize as many people as possible, as much capital as possible, so that Africa gets a chance. One thing that you mentioned is it's not usually in the hand, like there's so many things you cannot control.
True.
It's usually like infrastructure, policy, culture, but like these things are changing. Capital can solve infra. Policies, we have a lot of people that are going to government, although not as many as we should have. Like we all celebrate Bosun, but Bosun, well, actually, Bosun, you have Fola, you have Francis Sani, a bunch of people that are doing like meaningful
Very good
work.
stuff. Yeah.
The sad reality is we need to know whatever number we have, it needs to multiply by 1,000.
I agree.
And that's when we start changing the fabrics of our society from a policy perspective. Culture, like the internet is really influencing culture. We're exporting our culture. There's a lot of things that we can change. And culture just takes a while to change. And then investments, we need productivity. How do you make people more productive? For people to be productive, you need the infrastructure to work.
Yeah. So again, from the investment standpoint now, one of the question I wanted to ask you, how do you see that shaping? Because again, you mentioned something, even as an angel, I think I haven't, in the last 8 to 12 months, I don't think I've caught any direct check at the moment. Again, I'm obviously looking to restart this year because I think now it was a time of like, okay, you needed to just pull off and then kind of re-synthesize my personal thesis of what I wanted to invest in, what those kind of opportunities look like. And looking at how even my own personal business has evolved, and I'm like, okay, I think I have a better clarity of thought around what that looks like. And I say this because now, especially in the era where we are seeing with AI, again, there's even a much more broader question. We are seeing a lot of like capital change direction globally, right? Because now there's opportunity directly in the US so that is available where, again, they can make a lot of returns, possibly, again, from that perspective.
Yeah.
I am kind of curious to see your thoughts around how do you see that in terms of like a global capital flow coming into Africa in that sense? And there's always been this conversation we've always tried to talk about, like how do you spur the African wealthy to invest in technology in Africa in that sense, right? Because again, now a fund that is based in the US is seeing a lot of like ramp up opportunities in AI, for instance, in the US or in their own local markets that they're probably not thinking of, oh, let's go move all of that money into Africa. And is the African rising story opportunity, does that still look like truly that there is an African rising story in the short or medium term in that sense?
When you think about, what's happening in the US, capital is going back home. Africans should do the same. The ones that are outside of Africa should now take investing in Africa seriously. Because if they don't, by the time they come back, there'll be nothing left for them to invest in. I have seen people who are taking piles of capital, going to, again, places like South Africa, buying Kenya. Like I've been spending a lot of time in these regions, just buying up the place up. They're buying up the place. And because we have a huge population is growing, people need, I always say this, like if I had 10 million to invest, I'll invest in 4 things, right? Housing, food, energy, and transport. I'll put all my money there because you can't really lose on real estate. I don't know if you saw the video that was going around on Twitter about the guy who was looking at there was this flats and he was going for 16 million. And he was in his car, like 16 million?
No, I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, real estate, you can't not invest in real estate. It's so, so important. But when you want to talk about technology, like the wealthy elites in Africa, I don't know do we have any African tech billionaire?
That's a good question. I don't think, at least In dollar terms, I don't think I know any.
Yeah.
Well, people will say Elon. Elon technically is South African, so
Elon doesn't want any of you to think he's South African. Let's not let's
well,
remove Elon out of this thing. Elon is American. He's hanging out with Trump. Nothing's gonna change that. But really and truly, like you have to look at the source of wealth of the wealthy billionaires. Even Dangote went to build a refinery because we still have a power issue.
true.
I don't see any of the wealthy elites investing in technology anytime soon because they have other things that provide above market return.
Perfect. Exactly.
But who can invest in technology? People like me and you. The people that have worked in tech and really understand the power of technology and how it can play an important role in shaping and changing societies. There's so many of us out there. The thing is, we don't have the people on the ground to invest with or invest in, right? We have the fear that, oh, if I give the money to my uncle, he's going to chop it. Are you going to beat your uncle? You're not going to beat your uncle. He'll beat you.
You want to
He'll beat
be
your-
assembled for village meeting.
Yes, there you go. But if you have the right structures that are regulated that you can invest in locally, your uncle won't do anything because you have the right framework, the right paperwork. And we need to encourage, so I think me and you, we've been brainwashed with startup investments. The market side of that, the market size is very small. We've done it because that's what we know. Like me and you picking investments, it's a different ball game versus somebody else doing it. I would like to believe that we know what we're doing. Like we've seen a deal flow but the average African doesn't know anything about startups. What is that nonsense? What do they know? SME lending, buy something for 1,000 naira, sell it for 2,000 naira.
True.
They know property. They know power. Why are we not putting these opportunities in front of them to invest in? You understand these things, right? Startups, venture should play part in a pool of options that's available for the diaspora.
Got it.
And also, like, not just the diaspora, but people who are locally on the ground, because that's what they already
Yeah,
do.
that have disposable income to invest,
There
essentially.
you go. Like, if you're lending in Nigeria now, what are the interest rates? What, 30, 40% these days?
Yeah, about 30 plus.
30 plus. VC is saying that you should be making 20% per annum compound. That's lower than 30 plus. So when you go and pitch a VC opportunity to a Nigerian Oga, it's going to look at you like, are you dumb?
Like, why would I be doing that again? Also knowing what the rate of inflation also looks like. Like,
There you go. But then when you bring a Nigerian Oga, a debt deal that is somehow safeguarded by technology, right? To be like, hey, these are the reasons why we believe that your return is somehow guaranteed. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. And then you go to the diaspora to be like, hey, Dangote is investing in this thing. You want to tag along Dangote? A lot of people won't even read the memo because they hear Dangote. But really and truly, they understand what Dangote is investing in. Like, I would love to see how many Africans somehow put money into that refinery. I like to believe that the number is zero. I'm sure they're like, his friends, but I don't think anybody should be betting against somebody like Dangote.
I hear you. It's
There
almost like
are,
the equivalent of like a Mac or an Elon. There are people you don't.
yeah,
Yeah, they will push through it.
they will get through it. So how many of these people exist on the continent? How many of these companies are there that we should find a way to match them to the diaspora? I am so bullish on the diaspora because, bro, it's you and I. Like, there is a very clear track record. The only thing is we don't live in Africa anymore because the circumstances don't allow us. We want to send our kids to good schools and, we want to live in a sane society. But the longer we stay away, like, Africa isn't just going to get solved. And that's why I love what you're doing with your company, because Radar like we bought laptops with you for our, talent in Nigeria, and this thing was delivered and it worked. But like, you should not be confined to just selling for Africa. You have customers around the world.
Yep.
Now that you've taken that step outside of the continent, you can sell to the entire world. So that's a big plus, right? That's a big plus. And nobody's blocking your account because you have a Nigerian address, because you're in
Yep.
London. Like,
Yeah.
these are real infrastructure problems that we need to solve. Ideally, anybody in Nigeria should be able to sell to anybody anywhere.
Yep.
But it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Like,
That's not the reality.
it's not a reality. Like, one of the reasons why I really care about building borderless is, I remember there are people that were reaching out to us for one particular company maybe 2 years ago. They couldn't invest in that company but that company is next door in Lagos. What happens is, companies raising money to set up a Delaware Corp. You need to essentially follow US rules. Although you live in Nigeria, you invest in a Nigerian company, you now have to follow US rules, and then take your Naira, convert it to US dollar if the bank accepts it after you spend 6 hours at the bank. Send that money, hoping that money gets to where it's supposed to get to, only for the money to come back.
And all of those, the money is going out the way, a round trip to come back to Nigeria.
It's bullshit. It's nonsense. Like, it's like, you and I have the privilege to raise these friends and family and, small rounds. The average African founder has no friends and family.
I agree.
HoaQ exists for that. Like, we have to go in and also, like, okay, HoaQ investors want money back, etc. Like, we need 1,000 HoaQs out there. One is not enough, because we don't have the friends and family privileges that the West founders enjoy.
And again, it's a function of that amount of liquidity. There's a lot more maturity in those markets, right? Those markets have matured. A lot of people have exited. They've done this multiple cycles. That's an average young 26-year-old has $200,000 in the valley that they can say, hey, you know what? I don't mind cutting 520K checks comfortably,
But the diaspora has access to this cash because they live in the valley. So can we now put them into collectives and enable them to be the friends and family of these super talented African founders that are building the future of the continent? I think they deserve a shot. I wouldn't be here today building Borderless if it wasn't because of friends and family. No way. Yes, I've had the privilege of making money, saving, but savings can get you so far.
Yep.
The things that I've seen is a lot of founders have had to resort to getting a side hustle. But when you have a side hustle, you're not in and I really, 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 really hope that more founders are in 200%. I am so grateful that I haven't had to take a part-time job to do to push this mission forward. But as you said, for Radar, it took a while to really flesh it out. You can't accelerate that process.
Yep.
We're only building go on, tell me.
I think the biggest thing also, which is now my own new take again, which I haven't spoken with a lot of people, is that I think that one of the things I think I really, really enjoy now, not living in the continent, was a fresh perspective about how I think about products and the world in general. I think that as well, which is also is usually very interesting, that closeness to the problem makes you see it really, really close. But then it also makes you blinded to a different way of how people approach things, in terms of how people approach products. I think that a lot of our products that we are building in the continent, again, in some cases, because there's not enough depth in the market, you then have to go wide, right? Because you can't go deep. Right? There's no, again, we see people talk about niche down. But in Africa, you don't necessarily sometimes have that luxury to niche down, because going niche means that your customer segment is way too small, and there's not enough money to make from those guys. You end up, like they say, if you're doing fintech, everybody ends up selling airtime or selling data, right? It's just the one, at the end of the day, whatever your app is, at a certain point, data and internet, because it just sells, right? It's your utility, and you end up selling that. And then gradually coming to a place where I then see that, look, even the margin you can make transaction wise, especially when you are selling internationally. I am of a big opinion at this point where I was like, how, to your point, how can African companies or African startups start exploring building for a global audience from day one? To
Mhm.
your point, it's challenging, it's a very different mind shift. And it took us the longest time to figure it out because nobody was coming to show you. There's no playbook of anybody saying, "Hey,
Mhm.
this is what you should do." But the moment I started seeing that, we started kind of trying solving that for radar. We realized that, oh, this is very interesting. Again, you could solve for the continent, but again, which is why I think like the remittance guys, sorry that I'm jumping everywhere. The remittance guys are in a very interesting business because you are serving an international market where
Mhm.
the fulfillment is happening more in the local currency. Interesting business place position to be in, right?
Mhm.
So again, if you can build your team where a lot of your infrastructure, your production is sits in the continent,
Yep.
but your revenue is coming outside of the continent, I think that is such a very beautiful, powerful place to be.
Yeah. I say,
Essentially,
I say that all these tap send Ala Lemfi, they're not African companies. Are you crazy? They're not African companies.
exactly.
Look like it, but like Nala is in London.
Yeah.
I see Benji every now and again, right? Like read one, let bro again. Like I've been so privileged to have access to insider information. When I started learning that all these remittance companies don't make money in local currency, like how come? Because they're collecting the money in GBP. What, they take
Yes.
the cuts before they send the money.
Of course.
They
Do you
don't
want to be
have
dealing with local currency? Why would I be dealing with all of that?
they don't have the exposure. They don't need to have like a treasury team because why? The bank is giving you everything. Like, why do you need a treasury? Of course, when you get bigger, you need treasury. So when you start looking at the dynamics of selling to a global audience, it's such an interesting play. When do you plan to release this thing? This video?
In a few days, actually, at the end of this week, actually.
Good. The reason why I'm saying that is I'm hosting a session at the end of March 28th called Africa Founders to the World.
Mm,
How African founders are building for a global audience.
mhm.
I think so the reason why I came up with that topic is Bamboo has expanded to Canada. Tix is now selling tickets in the UK.
Mm,
And the other company was her name is Shubu. It's a beauty hut. She sells beauty products globally.
mm.
There are more and more businesses that are leveraging local super talented talent to build great products for the world. But to build for the world, you need to have a global perspective.
Yep.
So it wasn't an accident that I bumped into Richmond in London. You need to have that global perspective. You need to be well traveled. How many people have the opportunity? So like I'm trying to like see the other side. Like we're hella privileged.
I agree. I think that
And
for me, I tell somebody, I say that's the one of the most interesting things that I have seen. Just seeing that new perspective,
Mhm.
and over the last few weeks now, I started something where I'm working with a couple of like early stage founders. Again, interesting. I was even surprised. I have founders from the US, the UK, and Nigeria in the program now. And my own fundamental thesis is helping founders to think beyond the constraints of how they see their market, to see,
Mhm.
again, sometimes because it's what you know and what you're used to, you're probably not seeing a larger picture. Because again, we've seen
Yeah.
it multiple times where even for African businesses, necessarily, again, it wasn't necessarily that the product was bad or the founders were not great people as well. It was just that they were selling to a market that didn't have disposable income.
Mhm.
Fundamentally, like what you mentioned, for most of Africa, is poor in terms of from like a technology adoption or product usage perspective, right?
Mhm.
But whereas you could take that same software solution and you're position it in a different market that has a lot more disposable income, a lot more affinity for technology. In fact, I used to do a small test then where I asked a couple of my friends to say, pick up a phone of an average person in like in most of the African country. If it wasn't a financial app that they had, if they even had most of the apps they had were either religious or financial. Other than that,
Mm.
it was you could literally count any non-financial, non-religious app that they had on their phone in that
Mm.
sense. And so you realize
Interesting.
that for all of the technology and technology that we scream, we are not app first people. We are not necessarily people that use a lot of like apps and stuff. Even for commerce, we a lot of the commerce that we've come become because of that trust, those friction that has existed. People want to do pay on delivery. We want to see
Yeah.
the item and trust the item and feel the item. And like, oh, okay, now I'm comfortable to actually pay you. And it's a very different dynamic again because now you as a founder, instead of solving your primary problem, you have to solve five related problems that are not your core business. You
Yeah.
know, they're trying to do e-commerce, but now you now have to figure out how to do logistics. You're having to figure out how to collect payments. Thankfully, payment is relatively soft now, so thank God. Right? Guys now have built a lot of. We have really decent payment rails in the continent, but initially, if a couple of years ago, that didn't exist. So you need to think about, okay, I want to sell stuff online. Apart from putting all of this inventory, I need to think about okay, warehousing. I need to think about logistics. I need to think about how I collect payment. But that is not your core business. Now you're doing 4 or 5 other businesses just to deliver
Just to
one pack.
make the one work. Yeah.
Yes. And for me,
Yeah.
it has been like, and the other weird thing I also, again, I'm jumping everywhere. The other weird thing I always also sometimes see in the continent is where we then even see companies that are already becoming successful, where instead of them trying to deepen their own competency and
Mm.
then say, hey, we need this capability. Case in point, we need logistic capability.
Yeah.
But that's not our business. Can we find someone that is they are not that great, but they are willing to learn, they're willing to kind of improve. And instead of us trying to recreate that wheel, let's invest and kind of help them show up because
Mhm.
now they become a better logistics company. I become
Yeah.
a better whatever e-commerce
Yeah.
company. As opposed to them saying, this looks interesting. Now I'm also there. I then go create a logistics company, and now I am not. I'm mediocre on both ways, or I'm average on both ways, rather than becoming the best e-commerce and
Yeah.
leveraging the best logistics in that end. And I
Yeah.
kind of
I
wonder
see. I
why
see
does that
people.
always be the case?
I see this happen in the West quite a bit, but not as much in across Africa. For example, Stripe has invested in a ton of companies
Hmm.
that could be like potential. Like Stripe invested in Paystack before they bought the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because Stripe from day one, they realized that they're not expert. Like when they went to look at the African continent, like, yo, like
Where do we start from?
where do we start from? Like, where do we start from? And then they decided to buy probably one of the best payment companies. But
Mm-hmm.
before they did that, they invested, right? And I think we need to see more of these like collaborations where when a company is not great at one thing, they invest in the next best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like that protects you from like that company becoming your competitor because like just the way your e-commerce and the logistics, the tables can flip.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a very well embedded relationship that mutually benefits both companies, then you'll see a lot of people go into like you let people focus on what they're good at. But also like I feel like a lot of African founders, not just companies, are forever in survival mode. And
Mm.
we
I
we
hear you.
are we are having to think about cash flow positivity sooner. And as a result, we're not experimenting enough.
I agree.
Like we're not experimenting enough. So like you have to understand if a company has to go and build logistic capabilities because they have to figure things out quickly.
Mm.
Or else if they don't figure out things out quickly, they won't have any money to run this business and the thing will die.
Hmm.
Bro, I have had to share so many bad news to HoaQ investors because the company just died. Because they like again, we don't have the luxury to go deep. We're going
Hmm.
wide. When you go wide, you spread yourself thin. And
Yeah.
because you start as an e-commerce company and then become an infrastructure company, like when you're thin, you're thin. Like, what are you gonna do? Like
I
I've
hear
seen
you.
so many companies just die. And yeah, like of course, it's the responsibility of the founders. But I feel like sometimes we dismiss the Africa infra problem and we have a lot of work to do. Let me give you an example. Even just today, lunch, I went for lunch with this founder who brought out the founder. The founder was showing me what they were building. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. It's like, yeah, we tried to work with a company in Africa, but we had to bring our own internet and then we had to bring our own power. because the device cannot the device cannot stay for long. The device cannot stay without power cuts. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yes, well, when there's power cuts, the device doesn't work, meaning that the internet doesn't work and the thing stops. So these guys have had to reconfigure the device for Africa. That doesn't inspire confidence in anybody. So until we solve our infrastructure problem, mainly power, and I think there's a discussion going on Twitter about guys, whoever started that discussion, when I see them out.
I try to run away from those conversations because I'm like, this is so draining. I don't
Like, I've been in London for 2 years. I don't think I've had a power cut once. It's not even something I think about. Like, I am not feeling like, oh, this thing is going to cut off. What do you mean the power is going to cut off? Like, you can't explain this to a Westerner. They don't get it.
And the problem is don't understand how that is a problem.
And when I was in Oxford on Friday, there was a panel, they were talking about it and they were laughing. And I got angry. They were like, you're laughing at our problems. This is nothing to laugh about. If anything, you lot should get off that fucking stage, excuse the language, go and figure out how we solve this problem. Because until we have solved these critical, fundamental problems, nothing is going to move. Like, stability is such a powerful thing. When you have it, things just work. When you don't have it, you realize like it's just so unsettling. And the power issue is not any better. Like, we have to solve it. That's why I was so excited to see Dangote doing his thing. And like, some countries are solved, but most are not. Like South Africa, I think 2 years ago, they had power cuts. They solved it when the elections started happening.
I don't think I've heard conversations about power cuts in South Africa for a while now.
Power cuts are such a poor people problem. That shit needs to stop.
I like that. Oof, that's a line on a t-shirt.
If you don't have power, you can't do anything. Like, yeah. So I'm glad South Africa solved it. Nigeria, if you're a policymaker that has anything to do with power in Nigeria, and you're listening to this. Yeah.
Again, to your point, so do you then think that what if you're again thinking about like the continent or in general, what do you think are some of like the 2 or 3 biggest, most impactful things that if we got right could put us on that trajectory to kind of start setting things in motion? Because again, going back to the thing where we've been talking about it, I think it's also what led to a lot of investment in the continent. Africa is rising, the young population, But a lot of people look at it and are like, really, is that about to happen? Are we on track to do that? And looking at a couple of indicators, it doesn't seem so yet. Again, a lot of people are hopeful, but to my question would then be, what are some of, like, in your own opinion, what is the 2 or 3 items you feel like if we get these things right over the next 5-10 years, we could really be on the right track to actually kind of having a continent that we can say, yes, it is now on that right pathway to that promised land, if that's the way to describe it?
Well, first of all, hope is not a strategy. So we need to start hoping. We need to start doing. The second, like a couple of things. The first one is like the basic, like power infrastructure. The second one is deregulation. We have way too many regulations. We don't even know who started it in the first place. The third one is like capital influx for productivity. We need to be more productive. When I'm in Lagos, I am inherently less productive than when I'm in London. Let me tell you how my day went today. I woke up this morning, I went for a run. I came back. I think I had like a couple of calls. I spoke to my engineering lead. I spoke to my assistant. And then I hopped on the bike. I cycled to my meeting. Then I had lunch, meeting. I came back for another meeting. And then I had another meeting. And then I worked. And then you were on this call. That cannot happen in Lagos. No way. Like, so when I'm on my calls and I'm not taking like digs at Lagos, I'm just using Lagos because it's a city that we both know. Like one of my calls, my power goes off. Then my water is something is wrong. I can't really run on the streets because we don't have proper paths, meaning that I have to travel somewhere to go do my run or do something. That's already time. I don't have like time.
Mm-hmm.
And then going to my lunch. Like when I go to Lagos and I'm doing meetings, I try to do all my meetings in one place because of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a like, but here in London, yes, like London is a very old city, so we can't compare Lagos and London.
I
Like
agree.
I was able to cycle to my venue and then go grab lunch. My lunch from getting to the place to coming out was 5 minutes. If I walk into a restaurant in Lagos now trying to order quick, man, I don't know anywhere that does quick service. 5 minutes to get in and out, really? And then get on the bike, come back here. Like no, I would have had half the productivity that I had in London in Lagos.
Hmm.
So for me, naturally, I'm building from here. I pray and I would love to contribute to a world where I can be as productive in Africa than I am in London while living a full life. Like if you want to be super productive, you have to like find, ways to make it work.
Yeah.
It should be effortless.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not there yet. Like our policies, we have to have good policies. We need to have people who will go into government because policies are written by people.
True.
So like that's a lot of work that needs to be done. Deregulation, we have too many regulations. Please, guys, cut it down. Um, education, especially women education,
Hmm.
because like nobody, like one of my biggest assets is that I'm educated, and nobody can take that away from me. If I go to zero today, with the education that I have, I can build back up.
Yeah.
When you don't have that primary resource, you're hoping that the Lord will do it.
Hmm.
No. That's why our churches are wealthier than ever. The Lord won't do it because you're not educated. You refuse to go to school. But sometimes it's not your fault because you don't have the setup to go to school. Maybe your parents didn't go to school or your mom didn't go to school. So that's why I always prioritize women education. When women are educated, because women give birth, they will make sure that their kids are
Kids.
educated.
Yeah.
So we have so much things to solve. It breaks my heart that the continent is still very behind. But like what I'm building is my small contribution to a better Africa.
I agree. I
Um,
think one of the things that even for us at Radar, I think just looking back, one of the things we've seen, and it was very interesting, was seeing how even global companies were not necessarily hiring in certain markets in Africa because of these infrastructure issues. In
mhm.
fact, there's a report we are working on at the moment about the future of remote work in Africa. I remember I saw a video a couple of months ago about a lady that she was on a job interview. I think she was interviewing for a product designer role, and
Mhm.
internet. So she was doing like a live demonstration. She was
Demo.
designing something, and then internet went out. And then for like 30 minutes, she tried to get back on the call,
Oh.
and she was literally just crying that look, she literally lost the job because she couldn't get back on the call to just walk them through what she was doing. And again, your point again is in terms of like how do we start creating wealth, for me is how do we get a lot more people in continents being hired globally? How do we start becoming globally competitive so that at least a lot more of that cash flow is coming into the region? There was
Mhm.
some data we did, me and my co-founder, we did some work a while ago, and we saw that Africa, in terms of like remote work globally, contributed the smallest percentage from a distribution standpoint. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is very, very interesting. And whether we like it or not, to your point, if I am a US company recruiting, or I hired somebody, let's say in Lagos or in Nigeria or in one of the African country, and in meetings they always complain of, oh, because of power issues they're not able to work, or because of internet issues they're not able to work. After a while, I probably will be like, let me look for somewhere else to just hire, because we need to, as a business, we need to keep moving, we need to keep
Yeah.
going, and we can't keep affording these challenges to keep holding the business down.
Yeah.
And so, whether we like it or not, to your point, those infrastructure issues, again, a lot of people end up trying to solve them themselves, but it's expensive
Yeah.
trying to do it yourself as well.
Hmm.
But again, it's also just, and I hope what we're trying to do with the report is just to kind of shed a bit more light around. Here's all of the issues that exist. Here are some of the ones that governments are already actively working on. Here's how people are solving these problems. But even let's just even be able to recognize that these problems exist.
Hmm.
And if we can start being intentional about how we tackle them, maybe that can help us, to your point, see a lot more inflow of capital coming into the region, and which then improves the quality of living for everybody as well. And again, it
Yeah.
just gradually starts cascading, and then that starts
No.
changing, over
Yeah,
time.
I know. I know. I don't know if you're a time, but one thing I want to add is like I am very proud and also very fortunate to have only hired from Africa so far.
Mm,
So right now we have talent in Kenya and Nigeria, and like the bests,
mm,
the bests. The argument I've been making is we follow Western curriculum. We all follow the same curriculum. Like
yeah.
we are just as qualified
Mm-hmm.
as people in the West because they gave us that curriculum.
True.
So like I think more Western companies should hire from Africa because from a cost of living perspective, it's slightly cheaper
Mm-hmm.
and you can get like top talent
Yep.
for maybe like 20% or 30% lower than what you'd pay. And they are really good. And a lot of people who can get these jobs have some sort of infrastructure. Kenya doesn't have a power problem. Like you see power cuts every now and again, but like it's far in between.
Yeah.
So like I think Kenya, Tanzania, for example, like these are very attractive places to hire from. And I would encourage a lot of businesses to pay attention. The challenge with hiring locally is that you're having to do a lot of work to filter
Mm-hmm.
because also us African will have this habit of like, oh, they put this, computer science, but I'm a computer engineer. There's computer in the word. You
There's
know,
computer in the world is all good.
there's computer. We apply. Like I think that investment is worth it if you want to
Mm,
find great talent. And I'm so proud of like my team is dope. I'm not even gonna start naming them, but like I've put like that's one of the things like people build businesses.
true.
So you need to find people who really care about themselves. They want to build a good career. They care about your business. And when you combine those two, like you'll get great talents.
Mm,
I am privileged. Again, I'm going to keep calling my privilege because I have a huge network. If I post a role, like the last role I posted, I got like 220 applications in a day. Right.
Jesus Christ.
But that's because like I've done the work. I've done the work to build my network, right?
Yeah.
And now it's yielding returns. It's not everybody that has the network that I have. There's a lot of companies out there that can actually help you do this work. Like I know excellent recruiters who,
True.
like one of them just bought a place in Nairobi because he say I'm not moving because Nairobi is such a livable city, right? But this guy's
Mm.
a great recruiter. I know a lot of people that I think people should do their research and tap into these resources. The talent is there. The
And I
talent
think
is
that's
there.
one of the things we actually want to see how we can help a little bit more. I've been talking with a couple of guys. Part of that goal is again is how do you help filter both like the partners and the providers in the continent that can help you, whether
Mhm.
it's from recruitment to payroll.
Mhm.
How do you in fact we actually already got a resource we're going to be launching and announcing soon. But again, for us,
Okay.
we are not in the recruitment business, but again, for us, if more people are hired in the continent, fantastic, because it all supports our long-term goal. And for us
Mhm.
is how can we help shine a lot more light on the companies and the individuals that are helping, whether it is from recruitment to payroll on the
Mhm.
entire continent in the different
Yeah.
markets. So that again, if you're a US or European company, you're like, okay, I'm interested, but I don't know where to start from, then you then
Mhm.
have a pathway to do that.
Yeah.
Again, just because of time, I have a couple of rapid fire questions I wanted to quickly ask you, and then we can. Again, there's so much. These conversations never seem like there's enough time to go through them. I wanted
Well,
to ask.
these are the things that we talk about when we're on camera. So,
Yes, and so I think that's why I decided to say, you know what, let's put a camera to it, and then let's see how it
yeah.
goes. What I wanted to ask you is, is there a particular tool, software, hardware that you're like, you know what, this is one thing I cannot live without. That I is like part of my day. It's part of my every is a key part of me. Is there any part of is there any technology to hardware software that you feel that way about?
Yeah, Gmail.
Interesting.
Like, bro, like my Gmail is open. Yeah, it's got 980 unread messages.
Jesus
But,
Christ.
bro, like, let me see. That's one email. I have a 5,835 unread messages.
I would, if I've not read an email, I would not. I'll feel uncomfortable. I think I have a bit of like OCD with emails. Like my inbox is always inbox zero. I always drain it to zero. I cannot rest until my inbox is back to zero.
For the 1 hour that you and I have spent, I have received maybe 50 things from multiple places: WhatsApp, Slack, email.
I know. It's the life. Welcome.
It's this very sad life. Yeah.
Other question I wanted to ask you is there an innovator you really, really admire? Again, it could be in the continent or globally. Who would that be? If there was one person you were like, you know what, who would that be?
Oh my God, what just happened? Are you here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
There is this lady I met. Her name is Arunma Ote. Do you know her?
Oh, yeah.
I met her on Friday. That was the first time I've ever even heard of her. And then she went on stage, and then they described her. She was the head of the SEC, and then she worked at the World Bank. And at the end of the thing, one day, and I went over to her, and I was just like, I had a couple of questions. And then she's like, "Come with me," and then she took us to her office, and she just wrote a book. She gave us a book. She signed our book, and this was 30 minutes. And I was like, this is the woman I want to be like. She's not an innovator. She is an innovator. I think she studied computer science. And she just had a deep impact in the capital markets in Nigeria and the world. And she gets it. And she just turned 60 and she was telling us about like her birthday. And I'm like, if I can just live half of her life, I'll be deeply fulfilled. And I'm like, there are so many amazing Africans that we just don't know of, and we need to go and discover them. I grew up in a place like Ireland where like there wasn't enough role models around. And when you go to Africa, a lot of the role models are not so accessible, really and truly. So like I get the chance to meet with as many amazing Africans or people of African origin as possible because they make me feel like I can do it. So Arunma, she's now my new idol. Like,
And I agree about it end up even helping shining the light and telling a little bit more of those stories because again it's important, It's really,
I can't wait to jump into that book. I'm currently reading The Dream Count by Chimamanda because I think she's such an amazing writer. And she tells our stories. Like she tells like our stories, and we need more of our stories told. And yes, the West has done really well, but we have enough going on that we should focus on that. And we need
yes.
like when you look at people like Asimota, every time Asimota tweets something, I have to go read it. Because this guy is such a brilliant writer amongst many things that he's done.
Yeah.
Like his CV is incredible. And there's so many excellent people that we should all look up to as role models. And hopefully we do enough work so that like we can inspire the generation that comes after us. Like a lot of the things that we're doing, I don't think it's for us. It's for the next generation. And we need to show people that's possible.
And I think to your point, I think one of the things, like again for like Asemota, I think Jason also writes quite a lot. I've seen
Jason is amazing, by the
because
way.
he writes also amazingly well. I think that one of the things I also kind of told myself again with all of this as well is that we need to speak a lot more. We need to document a lot more. Again, it doesn't have to be. And even with this, one of the things I told myself is that get away from trying for it to be fully fleshed, fully structured, fully streamlined, but just why it is still fresh in our heads, in our minds, that we can talk through what these experiences and these journeys and the challenges and all of the insights and learning is because again, it might be one person, it might be 10 people. That story could be really, really important for someone else. And again, it's also just a good way for us to kind of reflect as well. And I think that to your point, a couple of people do it but a lot of people like, you know what, I don't want that attention. There's so much to do, and I think that we need to do a lot more as a whole, in terms of
Yeah.
just telling and talking through what that process and that journey looks like, building, innovating in these markets, all of the crazy, weird, unsavory, and sometimes successful experience we've gone through. Because again,
Mhm.
someone else can then say, "Oh, okay, I get a lot more better context of what it means to innovate," and that's what I usually kind of worry about. A lot of the things that it seems like we talk about in the African continent, especially within like the tech space, is almost like fundraise, fundraise, maybe dead or acquired, and there's no in between,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, there's so much in between,
Yeah.
and we need to figure out how to then balance those conversations in the in betweens. You know,
Yeah.
where it's messy and weird, and it's not that sexy thing that people want to jump into to go do. You know,
Yeah,
and
and that's the playbook. That's our version of writing the playbook. Like I don't know if you noticed, I've been writing a lot more
hmm,
because it's necessary. And even if nobody uses or reads it, I can go back and look back
exactly,
on how far I've come. And I've been
exactly.
writing for like years. I've been writing for like 40
That's something I
years.
want to try and be very consistent. I've been trying to
Actually,
tell myself that I want to write every month. At
let me
least,
give you a tip.
okay.
Take this recording when it's done, take the transcription. That's a whole like we've covered enough topics here that you can write 3, 4, 5 posts from this.
I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you. True.
Listen,
True.
we have AI. Put this. No, seriously, put this because this is like things that content we've generated.
Yeah.
Post it into AI, say break this down to topics and give me 3 or 4 articles. It will give it to you. I
Hmm.
use a lot of like I leverage AI. I try not to write from scratch in AI, but like all my posts, I like to freestyle because like
It
you just want
feels
to
a lot more
let
easy that way. Yeah.
yes, and then I leverage AI to make it better.
I hear
So
you. That
I've
makes a
given
lot of
you
sense.
three months of writing from this call.
Final question for you I wanted to ask is, what is something that you are really excited about? And how do you think AI, again, everybody is, there's, again, to your point, with this big invention that we're seeing, what is something that you are really excited about in the short term, in the midterm, and how do you see AI shaping the industry or even shaping your industry one? But again, in the context, because we spoke a lot about Africa, how do you see, or what impact do you see AI having in the context of Africa as a whole?
Um, so when I think about Africa, I think we need to leverage more technology, the application of technology in the boring spaces. So like
Mm.
again, housing, Split is trying to do something there. Food, Goleman is trying to do something there. Logistics, Chowdeck is doing something there. Energy, like how do we leverage technology to accelerate access
Mm-hmm.
to the things that we like, just accelerate access. Like tech is supposed to be the multiplier, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
problem solver.
True.
When you look at Africa, we have not created any novel technology. Maybe like we'll say M-Pesa or maybe what's that one? Like there's a payment thing in the Cure thing in South Africa.
I don't know, but I
Like
know also Instant was also another like pretty good
yeah,
guys. Yeah.
but like those people live in London. Like they don't even no disrespect. I mean great exit, but we need to leverage more technology across the what you call unsexy spaces.
Mm-hmm.
SMEs access to lending. So a lot of people are doing that. I don't think AI will be any different because I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but the only country that's competing with the US is now like France, and we have China who are competing in like novel AI technology.
Mm.
Everybody else is just leveraging what's been built.
True.
Can we localize what's been built to work for us at scale?
Hmm.
That's it. Like I think, yeah, like let's take care of the basics first. We still haven't gone over the basics. Can
The
we
basics have to
apply
be solved before you can layer
like
any other
food?
thing on
Like
top.
we've seen the food inflation that happened in Nigeria over the past 2 years. It still hasn't stopped. Can we leverage AI to somehow figure that out? I don't know what the answer is, but like what got us excited about investing in a company like GoLemon is because GoLemon is bringing groceries to your home at market price.
Hmm.
Even if nothing changes, you've at least saved money on transport and sitting in traffic for 2 hours.
Yep.
That's the application of technology. Goldman is going as far as chopping vegetable for people. I'm like, guys, why are you doing this? But it's working. They're profitable. They're making like money on every order. So like when I saw the Goldman deck initially, just like, why is Yinka going to build grocery delivery in Africa? Bro, like, I don't know if you know Yinka. Yinka is one of the finest product managers I've ever met. But then, so Yinka, JJ, the whole team. And when I heard the pitch, I'm like, guys, please take my money. Just, guys, take the money. Because they're using technology to, again, like, even if, because it's the same price, so like the market is not going to be cheaper. Saving time, you know exactly what you're getting. You can pre-order so many things that like it's not, open AI, but it's solving like critical issues for people who are there on the ground.
Yeah.
They're creating jobs, drivers, fulfillers, sorters, and those are the businesses we need to like. Our population is growing. For every 20 million people that can take employment, there's only 11 million jobs for them. So every year we have a 9 million job deficit. We need to start figuring out how to solve those deficits as quickly as possible. So yeah, I'm super excited about like just the application of technology in, call it like ground level industries. So food, energy, housing, logistics.
Awesome. Any final thoughts before we call it a day?
I mean, I think we've covered a lot of grounds on this.
It's so good chatting with you, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Let me actually, I have a closing thought.
Shoot.
We have a lot of work to do. So we need to, like, if you are hesitating about going to build a startup, this is my little push. Just go try it. Even if you fail, like, failure is not a bad thing.
True.
Go try and fail. But what if you don't fail? You can create a ton of jobs. You can empower a lot of people. And you'll also be rich because that's how entrepreneurship rewards people, right? And bonus point is solving African problems. If you don't want to immediately solve African problems, go learn how to be a founder. My take is it only gets easier. I'm sure you know it doesn't, but like that experience helps you not make the same mistakes again. So we need more founders building for Africa. If you're not building for Africa, at least get building so that you can use that experience to build in Africa. This is my call to action for all Africans.
Yeah. Just start building.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Joe. Really appreciate the conversation and the time. Yeah. And again, I'm looking forward to one day bringing you back, and then hopefully we can deep dive and see how things have evolved since this conversation. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
I'm glad we did talk about my company, which is very nice. I want to talk about other things, so that's why I was looking forward to this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Joe. Enjoy the rest of the day. Cheers.
You too.